On the distant world of Varkos, the land belonged to the predators. Huge creatures with sharp claws and teeth roamed every forest, river, and plain. Their roars echoed across the mountains, and no smaller animal dared to move in daylight. Packs of these predators hunted in perfect coordination, tearing through herds of grazers without mercy. The weak and timid creatures hid in narrow valleys and dense woods, praying to survive each day. In one hidden village, a young boy named Marcus stood on a ridge. He had watched these predators for as long as he could remember. Today, a massive beast with scales shining under the sunlight tore through a herd of grazers below. The sound of cracking bones and panicked cries filled the air. Marcus's heart sank. "There's no hope," he whispered, gripping his sister Lila's hand. "They own everything here. We cannot fight them. We cannot hide forever." Lila shivered but stayed quiet, her eyes wide. They had learned long ago that noise and anger only made the predators notice them faster. Their parents had tried to defend the village once, but the predators had come in packs, faster than anyone could run. Since then, survival had meant silence and caution. But today, something unusual appeared on the horizon. Beyond the jagged mountains, a bright shimmer cut through the sky. Marcus squinted. It was not a comet. Not a meteor. It was a ship, descending slowly and carefully. Its metal skin glinted under the twin suns of Varkos, and it moved with a quiet, calm hum. Marcus pointed, his fear mixing with wonder. "Lila, look. What is that?" The ship landed in a clearing beyond the mountains, and from it, humans emerged. A tall man with steady eyes and calm movements stepped forward. His name was Captain Henry. Beside him walked a woman with notebooks and instruments, Alice, studying every plant and insect she could see. A third human, Thomas, carried tools and machines, adjusting them carefully as he moved. They did not rush. They did not run. They moved as if they belonged to the land, though everyone in the village knew it was their land, not humans' land. The predators sensed them instantly. Low growls rose from the forest. Eyes glinted in the shadows. Packs of predators approached, curious and hungry. Marcus felt a chill. He had never seen anything survive when a predator noticed it. But the humans did not panic. Henry observed the predators calmly. Alice pointed to the tracks and footprints, noting their patterns. Thomas whispered to her, "They move fast, but only in simple ways. They react but they cannot think ahead." Marcus could not understand their words, but he could see what they did. They set small traps in the grass, simple lines of stones and sticks that moved the predators in a certain way. They shouted little sounds and the predators paused, confused. Then the humans moved together, carefully, without fear, as if the predators were just another puzzle to solve. From the ridge, Marcus watched, astonished. Lila whispered, How are they not afraid?" "They must not be human," Marcus said, his voice shaking. "No one can survive that close to them. They would be gone in a second." The humans did not attack. They did not try to fight the predators with weapons or fire. Instead, they used traps and clever moves, pushing the predators away from the small valleys where the timid creatures lived. One predator, massive and black, lunged toward a herd of grazers, but it slipped on a hidden rope the humans had set. It roared in frustration and ran off, confused. Marcus felt a spark of hope he had never felt before. Could these humans really change the way the predators ruled? Could they protect the weak creatures that had lived in fear for so long? Henry looked at the village in the distance. "We must observe first," he said to his team. "We are not here to conquer, only to understand. But we will teach them something they have never seen before. Patience, coordination, and intelligence can survive where strength alone cannot." Marcus and Lila stayed on the ridge long after the humans disappeared from sight. For the first time they felt that maybe the world could be different. Maybe one day the predators would not be the only rulers of Varkos. Maybe the clever, the brave, and the careful could have a place too. And far above the ridge, the humans moved silently through the forests, calm, precise, and unafraid. They had come to study the planet, but they would soon teach it a lesson no predator had ever learned. The predators felt the humans immediately. A low rumble ran through the forests as massive wings spread and sharp claws dug into the soil. Jaws snapped and teeth glinted in the sun. Birds and smaller creatures fled as the giants moved closer. Marcus and Lila crouched in the underbrush, hearts pounding. They had never seen anyone face these predators without fear. The humans walked calmly through the grass, observing the predators as if they were curious children. Captain Henry stopped and knelt, tracing the patterns of footprints in the dirt. He tapped his finger along the tracks. "They rely on strength, speed, and fear," he said softly to Alice and Thomas. "But they act on instinct. They cannot plan beyond what they see right now. Alice wrote notes quickly, her eyes scanning the horizon. That is their weakness. They do not understand strategy. If we guide them, we can control their movement without hurting them. Thomas adjusted a small device on the ground. It made a soft sound, almost like a whisper. When the nearest predator heard it, it paused, looking around, confused. Another predator stomped forward, but when it saw the humans move together in a line, it hesitated. The humans were small, yes, but they moved with intelligence, with purpose, and with speed that the predators could not anticipate. From the safety of the bushes, Marcus whispered to Lila, "I've never seen creatures so small seem so powerful." Lila nodded, wide-eyed. "They are not scared, not even a little." Henry directed Thomas to place small obstacles in the predator's path. Sticks arranged in narrow lines, ropes stretched across trails, and simple traps made of stones and vines guided the predators away from the hidden villages. Each trap was carefully planned, designed to teach the predators that the humans could control the land without striking. One predator, massive and black, charged toward a grove of grazing animals. Its claws dug into the dirt, sending soil flying. But just as it reached the edge, it tripped on a rope set by the humans. It roared and scrambled to regain balance, only to find itself trapped in a circle of sticks. Its massive jaws snapped angrily, but it could not break free. Henry and Alice watched calmly from a distance, noting every move. The humans worked together seamlessly. One would distract a predator, another would guide it, and the third would adjust the traps to adapt. They were like a single organism, each part anticipating the other's needs. The predators learned quickly, yes, but the humans adapted faster. Every predator that tried to strike was redirected, herded, or stopped without a single human being harmed. Marcus held his breath as a huge predator loomed over a small clearing. It snarled and stepped forward, but Alice shouted a single command, and Thomas triggered a small device on the ground. A loud snap echoed, startling the beast. It leapt back, then cautiously followed a new path, away from the village. Marcus could hardly believe his eyes. Humans so small, yet able to move creatures so much larger than themselves. The younger children in the village began to peek out of the hidden groves. They saw the humans' movements and whispered among themselves. "They are magic," one said softly. "No, it is not magic," Marcus replied. "It is thinking. And maybe, that is stronger than the predators." Hours passed and the humans continued to work. They guided predators away from water sources, herded them toward empty plains, and prevented them from attacking the timid herbivores. Every move was precise. They never fought in anger. They never lost patience. Marcus realized something important. Strength alone ruled this world, but strength with intelligence could change it. At one point, a predator tried to sneak behind them, claws ready to strike. Marcus froze, expecting a fatal attack. But Henry had already seen it. He placed a hand on a simple control, and a series of small lights flashed along the predator's path, confusing it. The predator stopped, snarled, and then retreated, unsure what to do. It had never faced creatures who could see so far ahead, who could think beyond the moment. As the sun dipped toward the twin suns' horizon, the predators began to move with hesitation. Their roars became cautious growls. Marcus noticed that even the largest predators were no longer reckless. They had begun to learn, slowly, that humans were different. Humans were clever. Humans were not prey. Humans were a force unlike anything on Varkos. Lila turned to Marcus, her voice trembling. "Do you think they can really protect us?" Marcus nodded, though he still felt awe and fear. "They are not just protecting. They are changing the rules. Maybe one day the predators will have to respect more than just strength. Maybe they will have to respect brains too." Henry watched from a high ridge as the last predators of the day moved back into the forests. He wiped sweat from his brow and smiled faintly. "This is only the beginning," he said to Alice and Thomas. "We are not here to conquer. We are here to teach. One day these creatures will understand that intelligence and coordination can survive where brute strength cannot." Marcus and Lila stayed hidden, watching the humans work. The village had never seen hope before. But now, for the first time, they felt it. The humans were small, yet their minds were powerful. They had shown that the predators, for all their size and terror, could be guided, redirected, and outsmarted. And in the shadows of the tall trees, Marcus whispered to Lila, "The world might not belong to the predators forever. Maybe humans are something more." Far across the land, the humans moved quietly through the forests, observing, learning, and guiding. They had come to study the planet, but they were already teaching it a lesson that the predators would never forget. The predators were growing smarter. After days of observing the humans, they began to move in larger groups. Packs that once hunted alone now formed patterns, circling, flanking, and testing the humans' defenses. Their movements were faster and more coordinated, their eyes sharp with cunning. Marcus and Lila watched from the ridge, hiding behind rocks, as the beasts tried to corner the humans near their barricades of sticks, stones, and vines. But Henry had already predicted this. He had spent hours studying their patterns, watching every leap, every strike, every pause. Alice and Thomas had built small decoys, simple wooden figures placed in paths to draw predators away. Tiny tripwires and noisemakers were set at strategic points. The humans had also enlisted the help of the timid herbivores. With careful training, these creatures helped guide the predators, creating confusion among the hunters. Thomas chuckled as a huge predator stumbled into a snare hidden under leaves. Its roar shook the nearby trees, but it could not free itself. "They think fear is enough," he said, wiping sweat from his brow. "But it isn't. Not against thinking minds." Henry moved calmly, pointing to the next predator approaching the line. Alice set the decoy on the left. Thomas, adjust the rope trap by the ridge. Marcus, Lila, stay low but watch the flanks. Timing is everything. The humans worked together like a single organism. Each move was precise, each action planned. The predators, for the first time, faced opponents who could think ahead, anticipate moves, and adapt instantly. They could strike, yes, but the humans were always a step ahead. One predator, larger than any Marcus had ever seen, charged toward the barricade with jaws open and claws ready. It leapt over a snare, expecting easy prey. But Alice triggered a small device that sent a loud sound across the clearing. The predator froze, confusion in its eyes. Before it could recover, Thomas tripped another trap, sending a line of smoke into the air. The beast coughed and turned away, trapped between two decoys. Marcus could hardly believe what he saw. They are not just surviving," he whispered to Lila. "They are controlling the fight." Lila nodded, trembling. "They are changing everything. The predators, they have never seen anything like this." Henry smiled faintly as he watched the movements. "The predators are strong, fast, and fearless. But they cannot plan. They do not understand teamwork beyond instinct. We do. That is our advantage." The battle went on through the day. The predators tried new formations, circling the humans, attempting to catch them off guard. Each time the humans adapted. They moved decoys, shifted traps, and even used the terrain to their advantage. Rocks were rolled to block paths, small fires created lines predators would not cross, and the herbivores guided predators into safe zones where they could do no harm. Marcus noticed something new. Even the most aggressive predators were starting to hesitate. Their eyes darted around, trying to understand what was happening. They had never faced an opponent that could react and plan faster than them. At one point, a predator broke through a trap and lunged at Henry. Marcus froze, expecting disaster. But Henry did not panic. He stepped to the side, guiding the predator toward a decoy. The creature crashed into it with a roar and tumbled to the ground, dazed. Henry barely moved, calm as ever. "It is not about strength," he said softly. "It is about control and timing." By nightfall, the humans had pushed the predators back from the villages and water sources. The creatures roared from the forests, frustrated and confused, but they had learned something important. The humans were not like the herbivores. They could not be intimidated. They could think, plan, and act faster than the predators could anticipate. Marcus turned to Lila as the last predators disappeared into the shadowy woods. "They are not just helping us survive," he said. "They are teaching the predators. The rules have changed." Lila's eyes sparkled with hope. Maybe the predators will never see the world the same way again. Henry looked over the land, scanning the horizon for any sign of returning predators. "This planet is not just about power," he said. "It is about intelligence, patience, and adaptation. That is how humans survive. That is how humans win." Thomas laughed quietly as he checked the last of the traps. "I never thought I would see the day when a few humans could outsmart creatures 10 times our size." Alice smiled, watching the horizon. "It is not magic. It is thinking, planning, teamwork. We are small, yes, but we are smart. That is what counts." Marcus and Lila stayed on the ridge long after the humans moved on, studying how they worked together. They had seen strength and speed challenged by cleverness and coordination. They had seen fear met with calm. They had seen rules rewritten by minds that could think ahead. For the first time, Marcus felt that survival on Varkos was possible. Not just for humans, but for the weaker creatures that had lived in fear for generations. The predators were still dangerous, yes, but they were no longer unstoppable. And as the stars began to appear in the sky, Marcus whispered to Lila, "The humans, they are not just visitors. They are a new force on this planet. They can teach even the predators that brains can be stronger than claws." The humans moved silently through the forest, calm and precise. They had not fought with anger or brute force. They had won through planning, timing, and teamwork. And in doing so, they had begun to change the world of Varkos forever. The hidden villages of herbivores began to stir. After weeks of watching the humans, the timid creatures started to venture out from their shelters. They moved cautiously at first, peeking from behind trees and rocks, but each day they grew bolder. Marcus and Lila watched as families of herbivores practiced moving together, copying the humans' careful steps, learning where to hide and when to run. The humans taught them simple strategies. Small sticks became levers to trip predators' paths. Rocks were arranged to block dangerous trails. Even the youngest herbivores learned to work in teams, signaling with low calls and tail movements. Marcus saw the animals' eyes light up with understanding. For the first time, fear was not the only thing guiding them. The predators still roamed the forests and plains. Their claws dug deep into the soil, and their jaws flashed in the sun. But now hesitation appeared in their eyes. They paused before rushing into a clearing, watching the humans and the herbivores work together. They sniffed the air, uncertain, as if sensing that the rules had changed. Alice crouched beside Marcus and Lila on a ridge overlooking a small valley. She pointed to the predator tracks. "The predators cannot see us as gods," she said, her voice calm. "But they have to respect us. Strength alone is not enough. We teach, we coordinate, and we endure. That is how we survive, and that is how we protect others." Marcus nodded, watching a herd of herbivores lead a group of young predators paths away from the village. "It feels different now," he whispered. "Before, they would have torn through us in an instant." Henry smiled, adjusting a small device on the ground that guided a predator pack away from the village. "It is different," he said. "When you combine intelligence with patience, you can shift the balance. Strength is only part of the world. Planning, timing, and teamwork can match it, and even surpass it." By mid-afternoon, a large pack of predators approached a valley that had long been a place of terror for the herbivores. They moved as a unit, jaws snapping, eyes gleaming with hunger. Marcus and Lila held their breath, expecting disaster. But the humans had already set traps and guides along the predators' path. Smoke lines, decoys, and the signals of herbivores worked together to lead the predators away. The predators stopped at the edge of the valley, uncertain. They circled, growling and sniffing, but each attempt to rush forward failed. The humans and herbivores coordinated silently, guiding the beasts without striking a single blow. Finally, after hours of careful maneuvering, the predators backed away, retreating into the forests without a fight. Marcus felt his chest swell with hope. He had never thought he would see this day. He looked at the humans, watching them quietly, observing every movement of the predators and the herbivores alike. Maybe we're not as powerless as we thought," he said to Lila, a small smile on his face. Lila nodded, eyes shining. "They are teaching us to survive, to fight without fighting. Maybe that is stronger than claws or teeth." Henry walked over to them, carrying a small map of the valley. "The predators are learning," he said. "They will always be dangerous, yes. But intelligence and coordination are forces they do not fully understand. If we continue like this, we can guide the balance. Not by destroying them, but by teaching them limits and showing strength in ways they cannot see." Alice added, "And the herbivores are learning too. They will no longer live in fear alone. They will learn teamwork, strategy, and patience. That is how life can survive here, even when predators are strong." The sun sank low, painting the sky red and gold. The first predators to threaten the valley vanished into shadow. Marcus and Lila felt the tension lift from their bodies. For the first time, the village below felt safe. Small fires flickered as families came out to gather food, moving carefully but without terror. Thomas laughed quietly as he adjusted one last trap for the day. "They are clever," he said. "The predators are fast and strong, yes. But brains beat brawn when you know how to use them." Marcus stared across the valley. The predators roamed in the distance, still dangerous, but their fear of the humans' control was clear. The rules of Varkos had changed. Strength alone no longer ruled the land. Intelligence, planning, and unity could challenge the strongest predator. For the first time, Marcus felt hope for the future. Not just for his village, but for all creatures who had lived in fear for generations. The humans had shown that survival did not always mean fighting harder. Sometimes it meant thinking smarter, working together, and enduring. And as the stars began to appear in the sky, Marcus whispered to Lila, we are not powerless. Not anymore. Maybe, one day even the predators will understand that brains can change the world. The humans moved silently through the forests, calm and precise, guiding, teaching and watching. They had not conquered by force. They had shifted the balance through patience, intelligence and teamwork. The predators had learned something new today. Raw strength was not the only power on Varkos. Months passed and the world of Varkos had begun to change. The forests and plains were quieter than they had ever been. Predators still roamed, their claws digging into the earth and jaws snapping in warning, but they moved with caution now. Their eyes watched from the shadows, learning the new rules of the land. They had once ruled without question, but the humans had shown them that strength alone was not enough. The villages of herbivores, once hidden in fear, had grown bolder. Marcus and Lila walked through the plains with other villagers, carrying baskets of food. They moved carefully but without terror. They had learned the human strategies and with each step they felt safer. The trees and rocks were no longer only places to hide, they were tools for survival just as the humans had taught them. Henry stood on a high ridge looking out over the valley. The sun painted the sky in shades of orange and gold. He spoke softly to Alice and Thomas, who were checking a series of small devices set around the villages. We didn't conquer them, he said. We guided them. That is how humans survive, through ingenuity, patience and foresight. We do not need to fight every battle. Sometimes teaching and guiding is stronger than force. Alice nodded, her eyes scanning the horizon. The herbivores are learning. The predators are learning. Every creature is adjusting. The balance has shifted not through war but through intelligence and coordination. Thomas adjusted a small trap that would gently redirect predators if they came too close to the village. It is strange, he said, how a few humans can change the behavior of creatures so much bigger and stronger than themselves. It is not magic, it is thinking, planning and teamwork. Marcus and Lila paused to watch a predator pack moving in the distance. Their sharp claws dug into the ground, but they moved slowly, cautiously. They circled each other, sniffing the air, clearly aware of the humans' influence over the land. Marcus whispered, they are watching us, but not in the same way as before. They respect the humans and the herbivores now. They know the rules have changed. Lila smiled. It is not fear anymore. It is understanding. Maybe they know we are not easy prey. The humans had not destroyed the predators. They had not taken the land by force. Instead, they had created zones of safety, training areas, and paths for the herbivores to move freely. The weaker species were learning how to survive without hiding all the time. They worked together, signaling each other, avoiding danger, and even leading predators away when necessary. Marcus thought back to the first days when the humans arrived. Back then, the predators had seemed unstoppable. The forests had been filled with terror, and every step outside the village felt like a gamble with death. Now, Marcus walked with calm, carrying his basket, observing the land with a sense of freedom he had never known. He looked at the humans moving across the plains, calm and precise, adjusting traps and guiding the herbivores. Henry approached Marcus and Lila. You see how this works? He said. You do not have to destroy your enemy to survive. You do not have to fight every battle. Intelligence, patience and careful planning are stronger than raw strength. That is the lesson of this planet. Marcus nodded. We have learned it. We can live here without constant fear. And maybe, we can help the predators survive too without giving up our safety. Alice smiled. That is the goal. Life on Varkos is dangerous, yes. But it can also be fair. Every creature has its place. Humans have shown that even the small, the clever, and the patient can challenge the strong. Even the predators seem to understand. Their roars were quieter, their movements slower, more measured. They watched from a distance as the humans guided the herbivores and checked the boundaries of the villages. No longer did they rush blindly into attacks. They had learned that a clever mind, working with patience and skill, could change the balance of power. Marcus looked at the horizon and felt hope for the first time in his life. The land was still dangerous. The predators were still powerful. But humans had taught him, and all the creatures of Varkos, that survival was about more than strength. It was about intelligence, teamwork, and understanding. Lila stood beside him, her eyes shining in the evening light. The world is different now, she said. We do not have to live in fear. The humans showed us a new way. Henry turned back toward the ridge, looking out over the plains and forests. This is how humans survive, he said quietly. Not by conquering, not by fighting, but by thinking, guiding, and enduring. Strength is important, yes, but intelligence and patience are stronger. That is the way we change a world without destroying it. The stars began to appear in the sky and the land grew quiet. Predators slinked through the forests, herbivores moved freely, and humans continued their careful watch, guiding and teaching. The balance of Varkos had shifted. This was a planet where the clever could challenge the strong, where planning and intelligence could match even the fiercest claws. Humanity's quiet resolve had rewritten the rules of life, and all creatures were learning to live in a new world. Marcus and Lila walked home with the villagers, feeling safe and free. The humans had not come to conquer. They had come to guide, to show a better way. And for the first time the world felt like it could belong to everyone, not just the predators, not just the strong, but to the clever, the patient, and those who learned to work together.